Greetings, this is Artie from Artifact Electronics. This episode is part 2 of our Commodore 128 repair. Last time we had a look at it, brief look at the architecture, and first thing we attacked were some sticky keys. It was kind of interesting. If you haven't seen it, have a look at that episode first before you watch this one. But looked like somebody got really pissed off at this computer and pounded the keys. Either that or it fell down. It got a pretty bad shock on the keyboard, but we had a bunch of sticky keys which still work fine after we repaired them in a somewhat unconventional way last time. But what we're going to do today is have a look at the absence of sound in this, which my suspicion is that the SID chip, which is responsible for all sound, has given up its life. But let's get inside and see what we can do. Alright, so I've disconnected the cables. Didn't put them back. And what we need to do is remove the RF shield here, which, looking at it quickly, has a bunch of screws around the perimeter and is also kind of has little metal tabs here that have been turned. So we got to straighten the tabs, take out the screws, and see what lies underneath. So the screws are out. Now we got to straighten these tabs, and that should enable us to remove the RF shield. You know, you got to be careful with these tabs. I'm not sure how many straightening cycles they would survive. There was a big solder blob here. Can't see, you'll see it. That while I was trying to remove the top of the RF shield, which also doubles as a heatsink, by the way. So in this corner here, can you see that? It's right next to the keyboard connector over here. But there was a tab. Basically the top of the RFI shield was soldered to the PCB over here to make a good ground connection, I guess. Now, checking out diagrams, it's kind of unfortunate because the heat transfer paste is obscuring all the chip designators, but I think that is the SID chip. And it is. It's a 6581, and that's responsible for all the sound. Can you see that? Where'd he go? There. Can be one of many things, but thankfully that chip is socketed. So the only way I'm going to get to another SID chip is to pull it from somewhere. So I pulled it from a loose C64 board I had, and that board's loose and it's not marked, so frankly I don't know if that if this chip is even functional, but, well, let's see if inserting that one makes any difference. And let's make sure that we don't mistake this one or mix them up. This one's date-coded 1985, and the one I just pulled is date-coded 1986. Well, we'll have to put things together temporarily again and see if that fixes the problem. Okay, I temporarily put things together. We got the chip replaced. And it's buzzing. Probably hear that. So, oh, I heard something. Alright, so it is generating sound, but there is an awful buzz in here. So I guess we need to take a look at the schematics and then check some waveforms to see where this buzz is coming from. My guess, capacitors, of course. So I freed the circuit board from the RF shield and everything else, and there I did find a bad capacitor. It is over here. I removed it, and it is the input to the 12-volt regulator. It's the smoothing capacitor for that. And the interesting thing is that the power supply in this is pretty similar to what we saw in the Atari 1050. And that is, we have the unregulated, well, we have the AC coming in here, and the rectified 9 volts, well, it probably becomes about 11 or 12 volts here to feed the 12 volt regulator up here. But again, 12 volts unregulated is not enough for the 7812 to generate regulated 12 volts. So what they employed was exactly like the Atari 1050 drives. They have a voltage doubler in here. 220 microfarad cap here and 2 diodes. The same configuration. I mean, for a if you watch the video on the 1050, you'll see that it's identical. And then feeding into the regulator up here. And what I found is a 330 microfarad capacitor, smoothing capacitor on the input to the 7812, and that one's bad. How bad is it? I got it set up here. Let's see if we can make this readable. Can you see that? Well, look at that. 330 has become 0.72 microfarads, and the ESR is 20 ohms. So that thing has gone bad, just as I guessed. So let's put in a new capacitor and see if the buzz is gone or goes away. Replacing the capacitor definitely got rid of the buzz. But now, with the buzz gone, I could hear some high-frequency noise in there, which sounded like digital noise, i.e. it's picking up data lines or address lines or whatever. So I researched it a little bit, and it turns out that the audio chip, the back of which is here, Pin 26 is an audio input that you can use to process external audio, run it through filters, and pin 26 is essentially directly tied to the audio connector up here with no components in there. It's essentially floating at this point, free to pick up whatever it wants to pick up. And it is a common problem in that there's not very many applications, if any. I can't think of any that actually utilize the external input. I'm sure there's something that does, but nothing comes to mind. And the advice there is to ground the audio input, which is pin 26, which I have done with this board mod over here, and that got rid of the high frequency noise too. Now the sound output is anything but clean, but it's a whole lot better than it was before. So we're in the middle of assembly. One other thing you may want to consider doing is, since these tabs over here are used as heat sinks, make sure to should probably observe over here there's not a whole lot left. I don't know if you can see that, but cleaning off the old paste, putting some new paste on there, also cleaning the chips so you have good heat transfer to the heatsink. And also, when test fitting this, I found that these tabs can use a little bit of a push to bend them down slightly so they make better contact with the chips underneath for years of trouble-free service. Yep, so they all make good contact now. And let's continue. Okay, let's test the fruits of our labor. One neat thing that came with it was when I first opened the drive, there was a disc in it. Star Wars by Broderbund. And essentially the disc was dusty, the label was falling off. It had been sitting in here, I think for a long time, acting as a head protector. But let's see if we can do anything with Star Wars. So the drive just wants to keep running. Let's see what happens. Okay. Let's boot it up in Commodore mode and C64 mode. And do a load.
The force will be with you.
And it actually loads. To me, that's amazing that the disk survived. It's also loading a lot faster than the other stuff we loaded in the last episode. They're using some sort of a fast loader of their own. But that wasn't too painful at all. Doesn't that sound just wonderful? All right. Having a hard time aiming with this joystick, but it looks like the sound's working and the machine's working. Yeah, it's a far cry from the arcade version, but at least let's see if we can shoot the Death Star. Come on. I guess our weapons are too weak. Can't even put a scratch on the Death Star. Here's a game I used to enjoy playing. Let's see if I still enjoy it. So you gotta go and pick up all the little things here, and every time you pick one up it changes the setup. I mean, certain segments are disappearing, and okay, that rope only goes up. So the only way to get down is the big ladder in the middle. No, really, this is a lot of fun. So see that white thing is going to shoot at me when it's over. Ha ha. So this is the kind of fun you could have with a Commodore. I also got this, which the seller told me contained the CPM discs. There's just an unmarked disc in there. Let's see what that does, since we're going to boot it in 128 mode. That's not promising. No CPM.sys file. Hit return to blah blah. Delete to enter C128 mode. This obviously expects to be in 80 column mode, and but it's pretty clearly telling me that there's a file missing on here. So enter to return, to retry. Same enter, and delete to enter C128 mode. And then it just does the whole thing again and again and again. So I'm going to have to find good CPM discs for this. I guess the disk needs to go away, and then we hit delete. And it boots into 128 mode. I gotta admit, I don't really know how to properly use the 128 mode. So the sound seems to be working, the keyboard's working, it boots up in 128 mode. I haven't tested in 80 column mode yet, but I think this thing is functional right now. And over the next few weeks, maybe I will educate myself. Because remember, I have a lot of reading materials here, and maybe I'll actually read this one. Makes for a lot of good nighttime reading, and we'll see if we can do anything useful with this animal. But the herd has been added to. Another game I played a lot on the Atari 800. Was Spelunker. I don't think I've ever played it on the C64, but I had a box of discs for my C64, and that I was able to load Spelunker. So, and the really neat thing about this is it's one of the first games that has a pause button in it, so you don't have to waste too much time. And you have kind of a large world, and you pick up things, and you explore, you spelunk. And you pick up the bombs, and you kill yourself. I just fell to my death. And if you wait too long on a certain level, the phantom comes out. I know it doesn't look like much today, but it was a lot of fun to play. One of the problems was, of course, when you lost your last guy, let's say you were deep in the cave, there was no continues. Which kind of put a crimp on the fun. What just happened? Forget that, I'm not going to kill myself again. And there's a free life. Oh, you're kidding, I just got stuck. No, no, no. Ah, good. All right. Well, let's see if we can get to the bird droppings. Uh-oh. And wait a minute, I thought I killed him. I guess I didn't. Do I have any bombs? Yes. And there he comes again. I don't know what to do, I don't remember. I thought you hit this guy. Guess not. Oh yeah, you forget after a while, but yes, this is a lot of fun. If you ever get your hands on a C64, you should definitely play this. Okay, where is he? What do I have to do there? Well, obviously he's out of range there. Let him come a little closer and... oh, I got him. But I just ran out of time. So there you go, that's a nice demonstration of the kind of games you had. Haven't been able to do much in C128 mode here, but that's most likely because of my ignorance of how this system works and a lack of proper CPM discs. If I get a hold of those, we can go and have CPM fun. So this turned out to be shorter than I anticipated. I thought we'd have to mess around with the sound problem a lot longer. Oops. And but we didn't, and we got it fixed. Got it nice and quiet, no more buzzing, nicely working keyboard, and let's see what we can do with this in the future. Now I ended up with 2 short episodes rather than one long one. Leave me a comment about what you prefer. One long one, if you've watched both of course, or 2 shorter ones. Anyway, thumbs up would be appreciated, thumbs down duly noted. Make sure to subscribe, and also leave me plenty of comments. Thanks guys. When I said thanks guys, of course I meant thanks girls and guys, for those who didn't implicitly understand it that way. So anyway, bonus footage, bonus footage. We can't finish this up before we don't demonstrate that the C128 actually works in 80 column mode. So we're going to look at the monitor that I used for my 8088 PC, which is a multi-sync, and I built a little, not converter board, well yeah, a little breakout board to be able to connect CGA to VGA. And we got to hit the 80 column display button on the Commodore. Turn it on. And there you go. Took it a while, but it came up. And is it actually in 80 columns? Well, let's write a quick program. No. And there you go. Count the columns, and it is showing 80 columns. So the 80 column mode obviously does work, and we can now say that, well, another component of it works. I guess until we see CPM running on this, we can't be 100% sure, but I think we're pretty close.